Wait. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our show today. So normally this is Board Game Nights with me, your host Zoe, but I have a late class currently. Now the phone's ringing. But Thursdays is our board game night. These are some of the people who come in sometimes on Thursdays. This is JC on the end and Mike right next to me. They're going to be doing an unboxing of the reprint of Nemesis for y'all. So I'm going to go up to the front to be their assistant, and I'm going to hand the show over to them.
Thank you, Zoe. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Welcome back to the collective. Again, my name is JC. You guys saw me one time when Zoe and I played Boss Monster on Wednesday. And here I have my partner in crime, Mike. We both have acquired Nemesis over a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
So what we want to do today is a quick unboxing. And as we do the unboxing, we're going to show the pieces. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. And if you guys have any questions about the game in general, pieces, go ahead and put it on the chat box. And we'll go ahead and discuss it with you guys. All right, so let's get cracking.
Yeah, first things first. It is a really heavy box.
It's a very heavy box. It's a lot of components in the box. Nemesis is a game by Awakened Realms Games.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go see what's in it.
Okay, she is thick. So we're going to open this up.
It's like Christmas, but in August.
Spicy.
There you go.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
All right, so I want you to have the fun. I want you to just.
Oh, we gotta go ahead and put the seal of the collective.
So does that mean it's in the library now?
So
does that mean people can use it if they come to the store?
If people come in the store, they can use it in the store and play it, or if they're a member, they can leave their membership card with us and rent the game out and take it home for a week.
Good time. So Nemesis is a game that can play with two people, can play around roughly an hour and a half. Because Mike and I had played it in about an hour and a half.
I think
So
so.
I'll get rolling.
Okay.
All right.
Lift it up. Lift it up.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's
Okay, I'll
just
hold it
really
down. You
heavy.
lift it up. There you go.
All right, there we go. We're gonna
There you
put
go.
the box right here. So first things first, you're gonna have your manual of the book. All right.
It's like the auction fund, but with board
Yeah.
games.
It's very nice. It's like LP sized, I would
Thank
say.
you.
Yeah.
Then here you're gonna have two basic room.
Quick reference cards that are going to
Correct.
have the information for all of the various rooms throughout the ship that we're going to show off to you as we move through here. But every room in the ship has a different function, has a different special ability that we will discover together.
All right. Talking about rooms, our first punch out is actually the room. So let's go ahead and talk about rooms. And so we show the rooms in the game. Like Mike was saying, rooms have specific functions. Some rooms help you take a shower. Some rooms help you send the signal from the communicational tower. Some rooms
can turn the fires off in other rooms on the ship. Some rooms can get a little alien baby out of your guts.
An alien?
A Nemesis. No, Nemesis is the ship. An intruder.
An intruder.
Intruder baby. Yeah, we have to.
So we wanted to go ahead and mention why Nemesis is called Nemesis. People might look at the game and think Nemesis are the intruders in the game. We can call it alien because of intellectual property. Right?
Yeah.
So Nemesis is actually the name of the ship. All right. Think of movies like US Enterprise, the Millennium Falcon, or Event Horizon, where you have all those big spaceships. Nemesis is the name of the spaceship. All right. And we all woke up in the spaceship.
We all did.
And we don't know what happened while we were woken up. We were all in cryo sleep. We were going to head somewhere, and then all of a sudden we wake up and somebody's dead. And we don't know why. And it's going to be our job to go around the ship and through these rooms, finding out first and foremost what they are, what they do, see what has happened. So here's another set. Now we have here what is called the Intruder Board. The Intruder Board is going to have eggs in it. It's going to have the weaknesses. It's going to have also the name of the different type of intruders. So larvae, the creepers, the
adults,
the breeders,
and don't get it twisted. Here's the top of the pack.
We're gonna have the queen.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. This game also has a first player token.
Punch it out.
Yeah,
Please.
Zoe's gonna show you guys what the first player token
So
is.
the first player token is a little cat in a space.
It's a little cat or not.
We call it a cat or not, yes.
I call it Mr. Lemon.
Mr. Lemon, and we call it that as well.
Yeah, we call him Mr. Lemon.
I was trying to put that together earlier today, and I actually can't get it to work the right way.
It's okay. Well, probably. That's weird because it's supposed to.
It comes with a little box stand, so you can hold up your box and display it on the top of your shelf in a really nice way. Although it's big enough to stand up on its own anyway. Is that
So
it?
if I go like that,
That's what it is. It's the bottom part. That's the part I couldn't figure out.
Well, that's so cute.
Go like that.
Oh.
Oh, well, see, then it kind of came apart a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
she'll
okay.
fix it, but that's the standee. Also, some mechanics of the game are as you travel through the board, we have a massive board. All right. So it's a 3x2. We got to
Let's see
keep
what else we
coming and coming and coming.
There you
It
go.
actually has two sides. So I'm going to go ahead and place it here for you guys to see. It actually has two sides on the board. It has, this is the side. This is supposed to be the more difficult side to the board. All right. And then when we flip it to the other side, this is supposed to be just slightly easier. Thank you, Mike. Slightly easier. So this is the layout of the Nemesis, right? The spaceship. So in the layout, we have back here your... Doesn't work? That's okay. Here in the layout in the back, we have the engines. Here in the middle, we have the cryosleep, the what is it we call it?
The hibernatorium.
Hibernatorium. Think of Mike. The hibernatorium. Up in the front, we have the cockpit where we go ahead and check for coordinates. And all these sections right here is where we're gonna put the different rooms. Go ahead, Mike. Punch a couple of rooms. See, and the rooms where you put them when you first set up the game, they go. Oh, you got it. Excellent. Thank you,
push
Zoe.
it down a little. Sorry, I'm reading.
There you go.
Did you want me to show them the board?
It's not doing it.
If you'd like to.
There we go.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, this should be fun. Let's see.
This is gonna be awesome.
Whee!
It's gonna be a massive board, guys. It's a 3x2, and it's dual sided. All right.
In the meantime, we're going to do some TV magic and punch some of these out. Oh, thank
Like
you so
putting
much.
the cake in the oven.
Yes.
But you're actually doing all the work.
So then again, team, the rooms that we're gonna put on the board, they're always gonna be shuffled. So if you play the game Betrayal House of the Hill, and you know how you shuffle all the tiles, right? As you go, you pick the tile. This is gonna be about the same playthrough, but the tiles are already set up. There are going to be tiles with number ones and tiles with number two. All right. So now the difference between number ones and number twos, the number is going to be in the back, right? So what's the difference between number ones and number twos?
Well, the number one tiles are a set of rooms that are always going to be on your ship. Now, due to the random nature of distribution, when we determine where they go at the setup, we don't know where those number ones are going to be. So there's some guarantees, right? You're definitely going to have rooms with escape pods. You're definitely going to have the rooms that can fix your wounds. You're definitely going to have the rooms with the showers in them, for instance, right? But there's some rooms that are marked number two that are not necessarily always going to be in the game because there are fewer number two slots on the ship than there are cards that you have that have those rooms in them. So some of those rooms might have special functions that you don't see in every playthrough.
So they're not necessary.
Exactly. And correct also to assume that all of the number ones are pretty much necessary because they're things like your ability to destroy the ship, your ability
have the
to fix
laboratory, you have the airlock system. Well, airlock system is a room number two, so you don't always could get the airlock system on your next playthrough, but you will always have the communications room. You're always going to have the storage room, the armory. You're going to have the nest. You're going to have the maybe the slime room. You know, so all these are rooms that you're going to see throughout your playthrough. But what we're trying to say is on the rooms that are marked 2, those are not always going to be there. So it gives you that uncertainty of like, am I going to get this room in this playthrough or not?
Yes.
As we play through the game, we have to be somebody, right? So with that said, there are 6 characters in the game. These are the first 4. So we have characters like the pilot. We have characters like the captain.
The captain, the mechanic,
the soldier. We have the scout. Right. We also have a scientist. He is we have a scientist. There we go. And all these characters are going to have their own assigned miniatures. So the cool thing about the game is all the miniatures are ready for you to paint. So if you are a paint aficionado, you're going to love this game because not only are you going to be able to paint the creature, you're going to paint the characters. If you don't have a set of paint, you can always come to here to the store here at the Collective and get yourself a paint kit from the Army Paint. All right, and this right here is the scientist.
You can't really see him, but it's okay.
I think this one is
that's the soldier.
This is the soldier. Maybe he's going to be more visible.
It's just how close I am to the camera,
the focus.
The tininess of the...
Well, some of these miniatures are pretty big, so you'll be able to see.
Yeah, some of the miniatures are like, whoa. So with that said, let's go ahead and put some of the the
characters
characters here. Yeah, we're gonna
let's
put them
start it.
because you start in the hibernatorium.
And then one thing that you always get when you start this game in the hibernatorium is there's a dead body that you find in that room. So this little token here is going to represent that dead body. It's one of our crewmates who has fallen.
Yeah. So when you start the game and everything is set up, the story of the game is you wake up from cryo sleep and there's a dead body in the room with his chest burst open. All right. We don't know what happened. We wake up. We're a little bit dizzy, right?
Yeah.
We forgot the layout of the Nemesis. That's why these rooms, they're all facing down. And as you travel, you flip the room, discover what it is, and the room could be what, Mike?
The room could be on fire, potentially.
Potentially.
The room could be malfunctioning in some way, shape, or form. The room could also be covered in slime, which is an intruder after effect.
So when you set up the game, there's going to be these markers that you shuffle and put them on top. And as you visit the room, you will flip the room and you will flip the marker, and then you will get the status of the room. That means right there that the room is on fire. That means that whoever went in that room got slimed.
Oh, look, this reprint has nice little baggies for these. We don't have baggies for these.
Oh, no.
So this is the malfunction marker, and this is the fire marker. So when you flip over those little cardboard things, and it tells you there's something up. That was a fire marker.
No.
It tells you if there's
on fire.
If there is something wrong with the room, this is the marker that you put on there to show. Now, what do these mean? So the malfunction marker means that special function that we talked about with all of the rooms, you can't use it until the room has been fixed.
So an example, if you flip this tile, right, and it's the engine control room, you're like, awesome. But then when you flip the marker that's on top and it says that it is damaged or malfunctioning, you cannot do the action of the room, which in the engine room, you can check the status of the engines wherever you are in the ship, all right? But because it's malfunctioning, it cannot happen. So unless you repair it, this room, you cannot do its action. All right?
So there's never an instance where you flip it over and everything's fine?
Oh, there is.
Okay.
Yeah. That looks like this.
Okay.
It's so rare. This game tends to torture you.
Guys.
It could be fine. We promise.
It could be fine. Now, just how the rooms are random, so are the markers that you put on top. And Fanfi said, "I'm very excited to see the largest intruder." We're gonna get to that in a second. We're gonna leave the best for last, right? We're gonna leave the best for last. So these how you discover the rooms and how you travel. And if the room is on fire, then it will have the fire token on the room. The difference between the fire token and the malfunctioning token, if the room is on fire, you can still do its action because it's not broken. It just so happened to be on fire, right?
Yes, and if you're hanging on that room for too long, your character might catch on fire too. But that's a decision you get to make.
Yeah. All right. What else we got? So then we have one of the important features of the Nemesis game is sound. You think that you are moving around making sound when in reality it is not the player making the sound. It's the intruders in the ship that are making sound. And as you move through these corridors, you have to roll a die to figure out where the sound is coming from, right?
Yeah. So when you move to another room on the ship, you are asked to make a noise roll, which is pretty straightforward. But you roll the die, and then anytime you enter into a room, you're going to add a noise marker on the corresponding number. So let's say you roll a 1, then you will put a noise marker in the corridor marked 1 that is attached to the room that you were entering.
However, that one.
Yes. However, there are 2 other things that can happen to you in this case. You can get an X here, which would indicate that there's no sound at all.
There's no noise coming from nowhere, so it's kind of like
winning the lottery. Really, in this game.
We want that.
Yeah, right? And there is the danger marker, which is these 3 little claws.
That get something clawed.
Yeah, which means that then you have to place a noise marker in every single adjacent corridor to that room.
Yeah.
It's like they're sprinting at you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so then the fun of the noise markers is they sit there and they look pretty. They're nice, this nice little yellow color. So they look nice. They're cute. The problem with them is if somebody else enters the room and they roll the number of a corridor in which there already is a noise token, then that triggers an encounter.
An encounter. And with the encounters, we have the intruders and Fanfi, thank you. Sorry for mispronouncing the name.
There's a couple of options there can have. So
we're gonna go from littlest to biggest. All right. So we got our larvae. All right, our larva. Here it is.
Look at it. How cute.
So those you can destroy with just 1 hit. All right. And then after the larvae, they grow. And we have the creeper.
The creeper.
All right. He is creeping around. Remember, team, you can always paint these miniatures, whatever color you would like.
Yeah.
right?
These are some nice plastic figures,
They
though.
really are. And then here we have an adult, and all grown up, and
we have
18
two
plus.
types of adults.
Yes,
all
we
right?
do. I'll grab the other type of adult as well, and you can decide which
Bring
is your
him
favorite.
to the party.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
That's one type of adult.
That
and
adult's
here's the other
kneeling.
one.
This one's standing up on its own. It's
Yeah,
paying
they're
its own
both the
bills.
same. It's the same exact creature. It's just they're two separate miniatures, but for the sake of health pool, it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the adults come the breeders. Okay,
Ooh.
so the breeders are just becoming just a little bit stronger, right? And they just look a little bit more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And then, of course,
And last but not least, for Fancy Feet over here,
Fanfi, pay attention.
we got you covered. We have the queen. All right.
Oh, she's got so many children on her.
She has
She has
babies.
a lot of little babies around. She's holding one. She's pretty much showing you, look at my baby. I want you to see my baby.
Look at them, but there's like 8 choices. She has so many babies.
Let's just say there's babies for everybody. Right. So you're wondering out there in
So cute.
the world, the collective and Twitch, you're like, how will these creatures come up?
Yeah.
Right?
In what event? And so we said about the rolls, the noise rolls, they might show up, right? But what do we do when they show up in front of us?
How do we
Well,
figure out which one of these?
That's the one. Good question,
question.
Zoe, because we're going to figure out once the noise roll happens. Let's say this area has 4 tokens and I come from here. I'm going to do a noise roll. I roll the 1 because there's a 1 there. I remove every single noise sound. And then there is a bag that says Nemesis on it. And in this bag are going to be these extra little pieces. Let me go ahead and show you a couple.
Yeah, we'll throw them right in the bag and get this
Yeah.
done. And then we'll let. So you can pull one
This
out right in front of the camera, and we can figure out which alien it's going to be. I mean, intruder it's going to be. I don't want you.
So they all have different symbols. Here you go, sir. Right there.
All right. So you've got 3 swirly,
So if you pull that one, that's the breeder.
Mm-hmm.
2 swirly,
That's the adult.
6 swirly,
That's the queen.
Don't get it twisted.
singular swirly,
That is a larvae.
Mm-hmm.
blank swirly.
So that means nothing. When you pull something out of the bag, there was
That's
sound,
beautiful.
but nothing came to you. So what you do in that encounter situation is you put them all in the bag. And as you set up for X amount of players to play the game, it's going to tell you to set up the bag in a certain way. Put
Mhm.
these many in here of this kind, and that's
Mhm.
how you set up the bag.
Yep.
When you have an encounter, what we do is we pick up the bag and we put our hands in it and we shuffle, and then we pull one.
Oh, I only pulled a little larva out.
It's okay. So might pull the larva. So what happens is the larva is
Little
going to
squirt.
be the
We call 'em little
intruder that comes to attack Mike. All right. There are these magical numbers in the back. This one for it says 1. I know it's a little bit far away, but it says 1. What that means is if you have that many cards or more in your hand, then the intruder is not going to do what is called a surprise attack on you, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't meet the requirement, that he's going to whack at you. So based on cards is how you move around the ship, you attack enemies, and the enemies attack you. So let's go ahead and pull some of the cards.
Sure. Do you want to see? These are the action cards for
While
the.
you set that up,
Oh
there
yeah.
is a little like cheat sheet that will tell you this side what they actually mean. So they weren't just pulling those ideas from nowhere. This tells you that this is a larva.
Oh yeah, we were not making these names up.
No.
Danny says hello and that he knows these people.
Hey, Danny Morales.
Hey, Danny.
Danny was here yesterday.
Yeah. Let's see what it is. So
Alright.
these are.
So each character is going to have 10 cards that are pertaining to that particular character. So I'm going to pull the soldiers one, okay? And they're
Mhm.
all going to have the same, most of them are going to have the same function, but they're always going to be specific cards that are pertaining to your character.
Mhm.
Like the soldier has that one called Nerves of Steel. That's only the soldier has it,
Mhm.
right? But everybody's going to have some basic cards like Interrupt, Search,
Mhm. Interrupt and search and repair, I believe. are typically the ones.
repair. You can repair malfunctions or create a malfunction, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
That is the gag of the century.
Yeah.
Yes, demolition allows you to destroy doors. When you start the game, all the doors in the Nemesis are open,
Mhm.
but
But due to some player events and some player choices, doors can close. And so
Mhm.
doors have the special function of not allowing other people to pass through those corridors. If you want to, say, block one of your teammates or potential enemies from crossing over a threshold, you can do so. Also, it can stop fire from spreading between certain rooms. If a room is on fire and fire somehow decides to spread, it cannot go through the door. So sometimes,
why would fire decide to spread?
well, there are these things called event cards that we'll talk about in a little bit that trigger a fire spread, which can also just end your game prematurely sometimes.
Yeah.
So
as you go through the game,
The ship just burns.
Yeah.
we've done this.
we've done that many times.
Yeah,
That's fun. When you do with the ship explodes, you're like, great, because nobody won. All right, guys in the chat, do you guys have any questions so far as we put some of these cards aside and we go over the mechanics?
If you do have questions, I do believe they will be playing this game next week. They being a loose term, because I don't know if JC and Mike are playing. But the boss man, Brendan, has plans to play this
That'll be
game
cool to play with
next
Brandon.
week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we should
We should do
Brandon.
it.
I'll call in sick to play with Brandon. All right, so
Don't say that on stream.
right,
He wants to do 5 people on stream. I'm not sure who he's getting.
that's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
That's a fun game right there.
We've
Well,
done
we've
it.
done that before, and
We
it
did.
was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
Tell him such.
yeah.
Just let everybody know ahead of time. Get your snacks. Get your
All
water.
Do you have the cards for the enemy attacks?
Those are
I believe they're. You have the little ones there, sir?
yes. Here are the little cards.
Oh, here we go. Found them. Here I am.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be cards, guys. So it's really
That's the most fun. We'll talk about
that's
that.
what we'll let you play with that.
Uh-huh.
So cards are gonna have different. What's that word I'm trying to say?
What would you call it?
Flavor text.
No, there's just gonna be
Types?
like types.
Yeah.
So you have
Okay.
your item cards, you have your attack cards, you have your event cards. So you want to make sure that as you set the board, you put those aside and
Mhm.
designate a person to handle the cards. All right. So when an intruder comes around and the intruder actually surprises you because you don't have the minimum requirement that is on the back of the intruder little chip, you will pull a enemy card. So Zoe, go ahead and show the enemy card to you. So you're going to have in the flavor text the name of the card. That number at the top left is the number that the enemy's health pool is. And we'll talk about that in a second. Those right there in the middle is if you match the enemy in question, its symbol, with that card, then that enemy gets to do the scratch. And then the scratch is going to tell you that the character suffers 1 light wound and gets a contamination card. That's how mainly these cards work. If it matches the symbol of the enemy that you pull from the bag to the card, then the enemy gets to attack if it was able to surprise you. If you are going to attack an enemy, then you use a number on top. All these cards are going to be facing down, and when you attack an enemy, all you do is you flip and then you look. If you did 2 damage minimum, because this card has a 2, I know it's a little far away, then you get to deal damage to the enemy, or you get to deal damage. All right. But in order to kill it, you have to meet this number. So if in one shot you do 2 health, 2 damage, and this creature is a 2, you pull this 2, then the creature is dead. If by any chance you pull something a little bit higher, like 4, and you did 1 damage, the enemy is still alive. So what you do is if I pull this, and it's a 4, then it just goes to the discard pile. If I go and attack it again, then I pull the next card. Now it's a 5. So you still haven't beaten the enemy. So there is that randomness of health within the
enemies too?
yes.
Yeah, it changes every time a card is drawn. That's the health pool.
But the enemy still retains its damage. But you have to get to meet the next card that's going to have it.
Wait, so how do you deal with damage? I'm confused here.
Okay, so then when you enter into an encounter with an enemy, you start a fight action, because as soon as you are in the same room as an intruder, you can't. There's certain things you can't do anymore, right? You have to do fight action. So as you can see, actually on these cards for the soldier, some of them have a gun in the top with an X through them. Some of them have a gun, right? So some of these actions that you can do in the game are only able to be done during combat. You're forced into combat whenever you're in a room with an intruder.
So see the top card, how the gun is open and it has no cross. That means that you can use that card in battle. The one in the bottom, it has a cross on it. That means you cannot use that card while in battle. You cannot do the action of the card. You can use a card to deploy your ammo to attack, but the action of the card in itself, searching a room, cannot be done while you're in the middle of an encounter. All right.
And then when you would like to, and then when that counter's been triggered and you decided you would like to fight that enemy, and let's say you have your gun and you have ammo into your gun, what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to roll.
Zoe,
this die.
Do us the honor.
Thank you.
It has 2 pips.
1 pip.
1 pip. Monster.
And
Blank.
nothing. Okay.
Yes.
So she rolled this little
Monster.
symbol right here. This little symbol. Show him for me.
I believe that's the creeper.
That is the larvae and the creeper. So
Yeah.
if there is a larvae or the creeper in your room and you deal damage, you're able to kill it from one shot. All right.
And then it's dead.
If you do the 1 pip, that is 1 damage. If you do the 2 pip, that's 2 damage. The one symbol that looks like an S, that means that you're able to hit the creeper, the larvae, or the adult. Anything above that, you missed. All right. So some weapons, some energy weapons allow you to do certain modifications. Say, oh, when you do a 1 damage, make that 2. So some weapons are pretty cool. And as you explore the game, you're able to do weapon search. You're able to search for rooms. All right.
I would also like to call out the fun fact as a modifier to this explanation that if you happen to encounter a queen
You better just run.
or a breeder, it would be really advisable for you to just run because, like we said, you only pick 1 card, and then that's their health pool at the top. However, when you have a queen or a breeder, you have to pick 2, and you add those numbers together.
So if you're trying to attack the queen, you don't draw just 1 card, like Mike said. You would draw 2. So instead of a 4, her health pool now is a 9. All right.
Right.
And
Ouchie.
yeah.
So you
Or
don't
the
wanna do
breeder.
that.
So the tougher they are, the stronger they are.
Absolutely. Okay. Keep them away. Scary. Too scary.
So we talked about certain actions that you can do in the room. One of the awesomest actions that you have with your cards is searching. Rooms come in different colors. All right. Green for health, yellow for items, red for ammo. And some rooms have no color. We call them white rooms. You can do any item in that you would like. So we do have what is called a search card. Everybody has a search card, usually 2 of them, right? Yeah. So remember how I said earlier that a lot of the decks, you always have 10 cards. You don't improve these cards, so it's not a deck builder, but the only thing that you can add to your deck is a contamination card. We'll talk about in a second, how it messes up your deck, all right? So the search card, go ahead and show the anatomy of the card for me for a second. It's going to have the name, it's going to have the flavor text of what it does, but it's going to have to the left right there a 0. That means that in order for you to play that card, you don't have to discard an extra card. Some cards do have that extra number on it. For example, basic repairs. Because it's a really good card. With basic repairs, the flavor text tells you that you can repair a malfunction token, or you can break an engine or break a room. Because, I don't know, you might have a different type of objective.
So you left out one of the best parts of this.
Oh, the
You
colored
get
rings.
character
Oh, yeah, you
colors.
give
Yes.
character colors. So I'm going to use this one in red. Boop, boop. You just put it here in the bottom, and then that's how you know who
So,
is who.
The characters do have their own colors. I don't know if any overlap. But if they do match, that'd be fun.
You're supposed to have, let's say, the soldier, I believe, is red, the mechanic is orange, the captain is blue. But you know what? It's just for
We always
Fun.
just pick our own colors.
yeah, for fun season. It's like, hey, what color do you want to be today? Want to be purple? Here you go.
Yep, definitely.
So when we look at the room is going to tell you up at the top if it's a yellow room, red, green, or a triple type of room, like a white room. It's going to have numbers on the corner. So you see these numbers right there, please, Zoe. Those numbers are going to indicate how many items are going to be there, and how many items are going to be there depends on
that modifier token that we talked about whenever you enter into the room in the first place that tells you if it's on fire, tells you if it's malfunctioning, also lets you know with a little number at the top how many items are going to be in that room.
So that even though we discovered a room that is on fire, there are 2 items in the room. So what you do is once you flip it, there is going to be a little arrow in each room. And what you do is you match the number on the tile with the one that you picked. So in this case 2, and you put it right there. Now, back to the search card. The search card allows you to search the room. So when you search a room, what you do is you're going to deduct that number. So from 2 goes down to 1. So you rotate it. And then you go into the pile of the color for the item that is provided. This one, in this case, is going to be yellow. So go ahead
Those
and
are the
show
three
the 3 types. Well, there's also the
crafted cards, which we neglect.
that is for
ourselves.
ammo, health, and tools or items.
Yeah, you get like duct tape,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So let's go ahead and so also these items are going to have this is actually a great example. Some of them have a minimum card requirement. So for me to use, let's say, this synthetic food, I have to discard a card to use this little card and then do his action. Some of them have card requirements, some of them do not. All right. Do you have a limit of how many of these you can have?
No, the only limit pertaining to items is whether or not they have a heavy indicator at the top of it. And if they do, that means you need a free hand in order to be able to hold it.
Sample right here.
And since we are all human beings on this ship, everybody has 2 hands. And so only 2 heavy items can be held at any one time.
See on the top right how it has that weapon? Because this is a weapon.
And it looks like.
And it has like you're holding like the handle of a briefcase. That means that on your character board, you have 2 hand slots. The first one is always going to have a gun. All right. So the next gun that you find is going to cover your other one. All right. So like Mike said, you only have 2 hands.
So some items like the fire extinguisher or something like that, you have to have a free hand to carry it around. But otherwise, you can carry all the food you want.
Do any of them take 2 hands?
No, none of them do.
But if you find an egg and you want to carry the egg around the Nemesis, you need a free hand for that egg. Because
you might have an objective, which we haven't talked about objectives yet, but you might have an
objectives.
objective that indicates that you can do research on an egg and find an enemy weakness.
So objectives in this game are pretty fun. So there is what is called the personal objective and the corporate objective. So I'm going to give you the personal objectives.
Okay.
And then I'm going to find a corporate objective. We're going to talk about one. Let me see. There we go. This is a fun one. So at the beginning of the game, when you're setting out the game, you're setting out the board, and everybody has their 10 cards, right? Everybody's going to get 1 personal objective and 1 corporate objective. So a corporate objective, like this one in my hand, says player 1's character cannot survive. So player 1, in order for me to win, player 1 must die. Or my character is the only survivor.
Is the same person always player 1?
Yes.
Well, when so
we'll
so
get to that.
can you kill yourself
No.
to win the game?
So the first player marker rotates,
Okay.
but everybody's going to be designated a number, like a player number. And that is done by drawing at random one of these 5 cards. Player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So then if you can only win if player 1 dies, if you are also player 1...
Correct.
Then you would do the or in this
Okay.
in
Yeah,
this
you would
one,
do
which
the or.
is
Because
the only survivor.
Good question. Because the only way for you to win is to meet a certain conditions at the end of the game, but your character cannot die. There's no card that says blow yourself along with the ship and you win. No, that does not happen like that. So this is one example of a corporate. What's one for personal?
I picked a really fun personal objective for everybody. So this one is called the Hoarder. That actually speaks to the items that we just talked about. So to meet the objective to be a hoarder in this game, you have to finish the game in an escape pod, which is a method of escaping the ship, and you must have at least 7 items.
So you have to go around searching a lot of rooms, guys, and just keeping them and not using them.
Yeah, and it's fun to point out that in this game, you cannot share your objectives with the other people who are playing the game. However, if you know that the hoarder card exists, you can really tell who the hoarder is on the ship.
Yeah, because they're just getting all these items and they're just not using them. All right.
This is a cooperative game, isn't it?
Semi-cooperative, I think, is the official terminology for this game.
So then, can you attack each other, or how is he killing player 1?
So, good question. You cannot attack yourself. You cannot attack your friends in the game. There's no way that you can attack somebody. It's forbidden in the game. You cannot attack him. But
I can speak to this. Having been the recipient of, having been player 3 when somebody else has out the card that said that player 3 was not allowed to survive. There are all sorts of tricky things that people can do in order to make you die or want to die in this game.
But you know each other's player number.
We know each other's player number, but I don't know what his objective is.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the kind of thing where these are like your card holders, we could say, right?
And they have a number. So if there's 3 players, you're only going to have 1, 2, 3, and then 1 is going to be number 1, player 1, player 2, player 3. All right. So and in here, guys, you put your cards. Here you go. At the beginning of the game, you start with 2 objectives, your personal and your corporate. All right. So, but then you cannot keep both of them. So you're going to only keep 1. The way you decide on this, 3 things have to happen. One of them is an intruder needs to show up. Right. Second is if a player dies. Okay. But usually and the third one was...
That one I don't remember.
Okay, we don't remember that one. I'm sorry. But usually once an intruder shows up, that's what triggers it. It's hard for a character to die
before an intruder
shows up. We've never experienced it. We played the game like 8 times. We have not experienced that. So once an intruder shows up, like an example here with Mike, when a little larvae showed up, everybody right there, stop. Hammer time.
And listen.
Yeah, stop, collaborate, and listen. Yep. you're going to pick one of the two objectives that you have, and then you're going to discard the one that you don't want. And now you have a more direct intention of what you're actually doing.
And it's good because it gives you a chance for a couple of rounds to see which is going to be the more likely objective for you to complete as the game goes on.
Yeah.
Like, before you decide to discard.
Because there are 15 rounds in the game. Yep. And maybe by round 11, you have acquired an egg. And all of a sudden, one of your objective cards says, collect an egg, do this, and then escape. Right? So we're like, all right, well, it seems like I'm getting more towards this one than the other one. So when the time comes around for you to decide which one you are, you're like, well, I already have half of my objective card fulfilled, so I'm going to discard the other one and keep this one. Right? So how can you attack other players? Like you said the first player needs to die. When intruders attack other players, they cause damage, they cause wounds, they cause light wounds. And if a player were to perish that way, then that's how they died. Other ways is you can do kind of sneaky tricks by let's say throwing a grenade into a room that has an enemy and a player. Both will suffer damage. All right, but you're like, I'm just trying to kill this thing, but I'm in the room. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know how that happened. I'm sorry. You can leave a room and close the door
that's
behind
one.
you. Yeah.
Or you can run around the ship and not triggering noise, but noise markers are coming up, and then if you trigger an encounter with somebody in a room, that person is also going to get attacked. So,
or you could also, I've had it happen to me before where somebody, this actually wasn't you, somebody was
I feel really attacked right now.
Where somebody attempted to blow up the entire ship and then attempt to get off an escape pod, so they would still win, and then I would be forced to die in that case.
So other objectives are player 1, cannot survive. 2, player 3, player 4, player 5, because there's 5 player. Extreme field biology. At least 2 intruder weaknesses must be discovered. So you do that by flipping the laboratory tile and bringing in an egg, and then discovering the egg's weakness, bringing in an enemy carcass, and then you discover that weakness. All right. Another one is intruder egg weakness must be discovered. See, if you have that in your hand, then you're like, all right, I already have the egg. I just need to find the room. Once you've done that, your objective is done. Now you just need to survive or try to escape in an escape pod, which there are 4 of these, and they activate when the detonator reaches 3.
Yeah, if the
or somebody dies. The
or...
self-destruct. Sorry, because there is a self-destruct right here, and you can trigger it if you want. And we're all wondering, why are you doing this?
Why would you do this to us?
Because because I can go into the engine room, right, and I can flip an engine tile and be like, oh yeah, it was broken. Let me fix it. But then you guys can come behind me and check my work and be like, that was not fixed. That was fixed and you destroyed it. What are you doing? Because somebody's objective could be to destroy the ship. Right? But you don't know. But by the actions that you see your other players do throughout the game, you can kind of wonder if they're on your side, their own side, or nobody's side. All right. I had Krishna Kanhai.
She said, I'll have to check this game out when I visit the next time. I have to go. Good stuff, guys.
Thank you. And Krishna, have yourself a good day and a good weekend. We'll see you soon. Remember, we're going to be available in the library for you to use. Mike and I, if you ever want to play the game with us, we can always set up a day in which we have him and I can just teach it. We don't have to play, and we have 5 people and y'all can play because the game is fun. It's not semi-co-op, but semi-co-op, but also not semi-co-op.
Not only do we have the base game,
we have expansions.
Have multiple of the expansions, including Cats
in Space.
Everybody gets that.
So what else might be explained?
I would like to do the funnest part, which is, of course, the contamination card. That's why I pulled this guy out, too.
Yeah, so sometimes you can get contaminated because these are creatures from outer space. So let's,
just really quickly remind ourselves of when we are fighting an alien and we get one of these cards and we find out that the effect of this card is that you acquire something called a contamination card. What is a contamination card? Well, it does one thing really annoyingly, which is it clogs up your hand. But also it has this nice little pattern on it that you might be familiar with that can be decoded with this neat little guy over there. So now normally this is going to be a card that is going to be, just slide it right on there. Yeah. This is going to be a card that's going to be clogging up your hand, but eventually you'll get a card called Rest in your hand. And that card will allow you to scan the contamination cards. And basically what this is finding out if you've ever seen, I don't know, any other sort of sci-fi property that involves a spaceship and aliens, sometimes aliens get inside of your body.
You can't see it, but it says infected.
Oh no! We're like, Zoe, it was nice seeing you.
And so what it says, back.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
infection procedure, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
If one of the contamination
Why have
cards
I
you
not seen
just
that?
scanned was infected, do the following. If you have a larva on your character board, how would you have a larva on your character board?
Oh, so your character board, and there's a little baby larva right here. Because
So
sometimes
you captured, you killed one. What,
no,
No.
this means that it's on you. It's in your body.
It's in your body, yada yada.
Yeah.
how did it get there?
Because this alien has attacked you and it has done some kind of wild impregnation scheme on you,
Okay.
potentially with a fingernail.
If you have a larva on your character board, you die. Place a creeper in the room you were in.
So
Right.
then we grab a creeper, which is this little
crawly
guy right
boy.
here.
If you didn't have a larva on your board, this answers my question. Put one there.
Now you
Correct.
did.
Now you know because why? You're infected. So then you grab your character board, you put a larva, and now you're infected. So if you were to grab another infection card and you were to scan it with your scanner card, because you have a
Can
card.
get multiple infection cards in a row and
Yeah.
they just die like in
Mhm.
the same
Well,
turn?
yeah.
Yes. You
Yeah.
could.
And this is a way, guys, that your hand gets clogged because then now you add one card to your deck, right? And whenever you draw to up to 5, because you you always have 5 cards unless you have a card that allows you to have a 6, right?
Mhm.
And you draw an infection card. What it does is now instead of 4 cards that you have that you can use, you have 5. You cannot use this as an action. It just stays in your hand
Mm-hmm.
till you use your rest card
Mm-hmm.
to scan the infection card to find out if you're infected or not.
Now, a fun pointer thing about the game too is that that rest card allows you to scan those contamination cards, and then you might find out that you have this larva inside of you, and then in which case you can fix that by going to the surgery room on the ship and removing it from your body.
Mhm.
However, you might be the kind of person who, some people are like this, they don't want to know about it. They say, sure, this contamination card, I don't know what's on it. Maybe I'm infected, maybe I'm not. I'm going to run around, I'm going to live my life and do what I can. So let's
YOLO.
say, yeah, YOLO indeed. But let's say in that case, you decide to get off of the ship in an escape pod and you think you've won the game. However, there is a victory check at the end, in which case we will still scan all of the infection cards that are the contamination cards in your hand. And even if you did all of your objectives, and even if you got off the ship and everything went perfectly for you, if you have an unscanned contamination card in your deck and you think you've won, we're going to scan it at the end. And if it shows that you were infected, you lose the game.
Wait, you don't scan them all?
If you choose not to. It's like, some people are like, oh, I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't know what's wrong with me.
So when you get contaminated, you have the option of just throwing it in your deck
Mhm.
or scanning it and throwing it in your deck. So how do you prove that it's been scanned?
So you use your rest card, you
Mhm.
put it in the viewer, and then you can have somebody else, be like, hey, I'm not infected, because it will say it on the card. Or if it says it's infected, you have to show everybody else, because that part you cannot kind of lie about it.
Yeah.
Because it plays such a big part on the end game or throughout the game. Because as Zoe said, if somebody already had a larvae, you'll just die because your larva just blows out of your chest. All right.
Mhm.
So when you grab the infection card, it goes straight into your discard pile. And then when you need to draw up to 5, if you have to shuffle your discard pile and you have it, then now it's clogging your hand. So instead of having 5 working cards, you have 4, because the 5th one is just there.
Mhm.
You don't discard it. When you use your cards and it's time to draw up to 5, you only draw 4, because you still have this one card clogging your hand. So
then,
multiple infection cards are not good.
Let's say you got one, you scanned it, it was infected. So you don't want to scan the rest because you're worried. So at the end of the game, you have 3 in your deck. If the 2 say not infected, you can still win.
Correct.
If any of the other 2 say infected, you die.
Yeah.
You don't win.
Correct.
Okay, and that would be how you would keep track, because of the way that it forces you to keep track with
Yes.
the larva.
Yes.
Okay.
And so in the event though that you scan a card though in this rest thing and you find out you're not infected, you simply you actually get to discard that. It stops clogging your hand and it goes back in a different pile. So if you scan it and you discover that you weren't in the first place, you can do it that
Just
way. So
throw
there's
it back in there. Yeah.
cost benefit analysis
Yeah.
to how you want to deal with potential sickness.
Yeah. I mean,
Just like real life.
just real life.
All right.
At the end of every round, there is a checkpoint that we do. So we check if somebody is being damaged by fire. But one of the coolest cards in the game, and the most detrimental cards in the game, are the event cards. So at the end of every round, where there's 15 of them, there's going to be an event. Something happens while you're in the ship.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
You have the pleasure.
all right. This one says egg protection. Resolve an encounter for each character who is in the nest or carrying an intruder egg. So if somebody's in the nest tile, or the person who needs an egg to discover something is holding the egg, then that person will then,
Have an alien encounter.
correct, will have an alien encounter.
Intruder encounter.
Intruder encounter. Also, the cards on the top
Intruders.
are going to have a couple of symbols. That number on the top right means that if the symbols match any of the intruders that are on the board, they move through that corridor. So this one says that the queen and the breeders are to move through corridor number 2. So then if the alien was here, then what we'll do is it will move her to here. And if a breeder was here, it moves him to corridor 2. He will go that way. So there is movement. This reminds me of the board game Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror has that mechanic that it will tell you enemies with the symbol and color will move. All right. So that keeps the engagement of the intruders moving throughout the board and not just stationary. The only time they're stationary is that they don't meet the symbol that you pull with the card. Some of these event cards allow you to reshuffle all the cards back in the deck and remove the one you just picked. Some will say if there's a fire marker in here, spread it.
Get it.
I'm locking you in.
All right.
Okay.
And here's the door. Yeah. So doors can be destroyed or they can be open and closed. Once this door is closed, it's destroyed, then you should set it down. You don't remove it from the board game. So if Zoe decides to use her demolition card to destroy this door, it doesn't disappear. It just goes like that, which means that this door cannot be open or closed. All right. So if you have a mechanic that allows you to open a door, this one's broken. All right. What else? So character board, really quickly. There are a couple of symbols on the character board, and a lot of them is going to show you if you're slimed, you sent the signal, are you hurt, are you feeling well, are you not feeling well, do you have a slime on you? And it's going to tell you also the use of your cards. So there are a couple of actions that you can do by discarding one card. Those go from moving from one corridor to another, from one room to another, shooting an enemy, doing a melee attack, picking up a heavy object like an egg or a body, because you can pick up a carcass, you can pick up a human body.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a mission that says escape with a person that died. You can trade with another friend. So be like, if Zoe and I are in the same room, it's like, hey, I'm going to discard this card. I'm going to give you this fire extinguisher. Now you can have it. All right. Or you can craft an item, because a lot of these items you can also craft them. For 2 cards, you can move carefully through a corridor. Now, remember how we said that earlier, you can, if you move from one corridor to another, you roll 1 die, right? And you put it where the number shows, right? When you discard 2 cards and you move carefully, you don't roll the die, but instead what you do is you pick that yellow marker and you pick the corridor in which you want it to go, okay?
So let's say you're here.
Yep.
And you encounter Big Mama.
Big Mama's right
she
there.
Smacks you down.
Oh, no.
Does your thing go away and a body go where you were?
Correct.
Okay.
If you were to perish in the Nemesis, your character, disappears, and then we put one of these tokens that show you Zoe, and then now you have a body carcass. All right.
Jack says hi, Mike.
Oh, hey, Jack. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, and then when you have that body token laying there, it can fit in one of your hands that you have as a character. So if you want to do research, I believe the Intruder Board has, let's see.
Can you pick up the starting dead body?
Yeah.
Yes, that's actually why that's there. So just in case somebody else doesn't happen to die in your playthrough. And on the Intruder Board, we can see that there is the character corpse is an area of research.
So it could be the first character that you meet when you wake up from cryostasis, or if one of the other players passes away, dies. Yeah. Okay, if a player were to perish in the Nemesis, we don't have another character they can play. They're just out of the game. All right, but there are options. There are other deck of cards that the player can use.
Yes,
to keep them involved. We never played with.
We've never used them, but
I know,
we like to talk about them.
We never use them. Why? Because we always blow up the ship by ourselves.
Yes, that's true.
That's true. We do. These are the Intruder player action cards. They come in green. So what it does is the user is able to, whoever perished first is able to use those cards, and they become, let's say, like the intruders. Okay, so it keeps them engaged.
Yes. You can continue to play, and I believe what I've read in the rulebook and what I've read online is that it makes it much more difficult because now the aliens, the intruders, they have a brain of a human being instead of the randomness of the cards. So somebody could be outright malicious, especially if it was maybe somebody's mission to kill somebody, and they
I don't know what you're talking about.
Vengeful about it. If they were playing those alien cards, intruder cards, they could make someone's life not very fun. Anyway, just a
I'm gonna call you Iodized because you're very salty today.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
So, guys,
Check
just
your
want
border,
to
ladies.
say, just want to say that there is a lot to this game. It seems intimidating,
Overwhelming,
scary,
scary,
too much, but the game is awesome. Once you put everything together and you start figuring out what you need to do, there's other components that we did not go over. Like when you have serious wounds, they hinder you throughout the game. Like now you can only have 4 cards in your hand, or your movement now costs 2 cards. There are also the coordinates to know if you're going to Earth or Venus or Mars or deep space, you know, and the coordinates here at the cockpit, you're able to move the coordinates, and people are wondering, why are you moving the coordinates? Are we going to Earth or not? You know, so there's a lot that we didn't go over because we want you to come to the store. We want you to experience the game. We want you guys to put a comment on the chat if you want to play the game. We can always set up a time in which, let's say like on a Saturday, Mike and I could be here. We can grab a small group. We can be part of the playing group, or we can just teach the game. So you can immerse yourself into the Nemesis and just be one of the players and just figure out what's going to be your objective, how you're going to do it, and just have a blast because the game is actually fun.
It's really fun.
It's fun when all of a sudden a lot of the rooms are on fire. You're just wondering, okay, we're about to die. So it's just a matter of time. Or when somebody goes and turns on the what's that?
The self-destruct sequence?
The self-destruct sequence, which only has 6 turns.
Yeah.
Instead of your 15. All right.
So the self-destruct sequence is also a really good way if you want this game to be over with.
Yeah.
Go over there and turn on the self-destruct sequence, and then this game's over in 6 rounds. So
but just how you turned it on, somebody can come and turn it off.
They can go do that too.
If they turn it off and they'll say there were 2 more turns for the whole ship to blow up, it goes away. It just resets back to 6. Yeah, so a lot of people think it just stops at whatever number. No, it doesn't. It just resets. It's just like that countdown, boop, back to 0. All right. What else? Anybody here in the chat have any questions about the game? Again, there's more to the game. We peruse over, skim over a couple of things. You know, they were not in perfect order, but for you to understand that it's about discarding cards to do actions, moving around, and then an event's going to happen. A creature is going to come out. The creature might follow you, might not. You might have a larvae inside, might burst, it might kill you, or you might have somebody who's just out to get you.
Well, I can say you might. I can say that the most fun parts of the game are the fact that it's very randomized, right? So we've played this game, just the 2 of us, probably a few
6 times.
Yeah, and then we played it with groups of folks, different people, but the game always plays differently. And that's a function of the layout is always different of the ship. You always can have a different objective card. As you play the game more, you start to understand maybe what other people's objectives might be, and you start to understand sort of some ways of navigating the ship, some things that you should prioritize. But really, I always have a different experience every time I play the game, right? And
we don't always blow up the ship, but when we do, it's fun.
It's really a lot of fun.
To get a look at what the game could look like next week,
Mm-hmm.
and people play it. We'll see if he actually does 5 people or not, because I don't think he understands the game gets severely longer.
It gets much longer. I would suggest maybe 3 people for our first playthrough. I think that would be the strongest. I mean,
Sean says good day from the land down under.
Oh, hey, Sean. Good day.
Hey, Sean. Welcome. Thank you for coming all the way over here.
But I think we are wrapping this up.
Yes.
If anyone has any questions, let us know.
The game is for sale here at the Collective, guys. We do have copies. We have expansions. So we didn't go over the expansion because I think that's going to be adding too much, and we don't want to overwhelm you. This is a fun game.
But you could get cats in space.
You could.
The cat or not. I mean, who doesn't love a kitty cat in like an astronaut space? I mean, I do.
That's the thing, because if you have allergies, not even a concern anymore because this cat's in a spacesuit.
There you go.
It's the ideal cat, really.
And if you sneeze in space, nobody's going to hear you.
If you sneeze in space, nobody can hear you scream.
Nope.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining us today at the Collective on the stream here at Twitch. My name is JC.
I'm Mike.
We have Zoe here.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, Zoe's the real star of the show today.
She is the real star of the show.
I don't want to act like.
So if you guys have any questions, again, please put them on the chat. Send us a message. We'll try and do a playthrough. We want to try and get players. Just give us a call, and then that way we can add you to the playthrough, and then we can go ahead and have some fun and see how the ship is going to blow up, or how are we going to,
Yeah, let's blow up a ship together. Please come and see us.
Nobody's gonna hear it. It's in space.
Yeah,
all right?
absolutely.
Try not to get intruded upon.
Yes.
Oh,
Until next time, everyone.
Have
See
a good night,
everyone.
guys.